void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Look behind me right now. Do you see that white thing right there? I've always wanted to find something truly ancient. And I found a couple artifacts, but nothing mind-blowing. And then one day I was on my way to make a metal detecting video, and there it was. I thought it was a piece of styrofoam because it was just unnaturally white and it was sticking out of an embankment. And when I went up to it and looked at it, I was shocked. This was it. This was really it. It's an ancient blade. This is a wadlow. That's 3,000-4,000 years old. And so I wondered, who was this person? What were they doing right here? And is there anything in this blade that can tell me more about who they really were? Let's check it out. To put this in perspective, the person that made this had no idea what a bow and arrow was. That technology hadn't migrated here from other places yet. This person also didn't know what corn was. That came way later. The most striking feature about this spear right here is that it's serrated. And every single serration was just perfectly done. This thing is in perfect condition. Now, I don't know why this guy decided to put serrations on his spear. I know that in modern day times, the reason why you make a knife serrated is so that you can cut a steak on a hard ceramic plate, and the outside edges of the serrations will get dull, but the insides don't even touch the plate, so those stay sharp. It took a lot of work to do that. Every single little notch that you see here, and there's hundreds of them, required someone to take a little piece of bone and put it right on the tip and then just like smack it with another rock. And over and over again, you went all the way around the blade and just broke off these tiny little pieces until it was serrated. And this person even went as far as to make the end serrated, meaning like the place where like the spear actually attached to a handle. Now that part would have been covered up by a handle. Why would you have to make that serrated? I think that tells us a little bit about the personality of this person. Number one, the person was probably male because the females made like the farming tools and the hide working tools, and this was a hunting tool. This was a spear that was thrown most likely at deer at that time. Two, this blade style falls into a certain category called a wadlow, and they're found in this area of the United States. And so he probably was part of a culture or a community where people taught each other the skills, meaning somebody sat him down when he was a boy and said, okay, this is how we make our blades. Follow this basic shape and you'll have a good blade. Furthermore, the fact that it was serrated all the way around with no missing spots told us something about his personality. Perhaps he was a type A personality type, meaning the job had to be done right. It couldn't be just good enough to hunt with. I mean, you can smack a rock a couple times and make something sharp enough to hunt with, but this thing was made with the utmost care. And so maybe that's where this type A personality comes from. Maybe these people are necessary in society to get certain jobs done. Okay, so that being said, we're going to try to recreate this guy's favorite meal. What was it that he ate, and how did it fit into his life? So right now, let's go exploring. I've done some research. I figured out what he could have possibly eaten, and we're going to put it together and see what it actually tasted like. And we'll do this in honor of our special guest. I don't know what to call this guy. I'm going to call him Attention to Detail man. Attention to detail man. Okay, so here we have a replica bowl. It had to have been some type of wood bowl, and without a chisel, you probably had to burn it out, and so most likely that's what, attention to detail man probably ate out of. You can see that it's got this pattern on the back. This was made by some type of burrowing grub, some type of bark beetle that makes its living by eating the vascular cambium, which is underneath the bark. So without a doubt, just 100% chance, he would have eaten venison. Now, it is very hard to hunt deer. I mean, even with a gun, it's hard to hunt deer. With a bow and arrow, it's hard to hunt deer. Imagine how hard it was to actually hunt deer with a spear. He would have been young, athletic, strong, and he would have had the ability to withstand adverse weather and to sit in one spot and hide for a long time, because you can't outrun a deer no matter what. No matter who you are, you're not going to chase a deer down. This was an ambush situation. You have to ambush the deer and throw the spear when they're not looking. From what I gather, people 3,000-4,000 years ago started to explore agriculture. And at first it was just gathering wild edibles, and later it became actually planting the seeds. But one plant that they definitely ate, according to the research that I did, was this, Chenopodium. Yeah, Chenopodium. It looks just like birdseed. And in America, there's a weed that resembles it called lamb's quarter. So the closest thing that we have to this Chenopodium in modern day times is this little birdseed looking stuff called quinoa. When I first heard about this, I thought there's no way. There's no way that people can eat stinging nettles. I mean, stinging nettles are the most vicious, burning, painful plant. But if you cook it long enough, and in only 5 minutes, if you cook it long enough, you'll denature the toxin, and that terrible, annoying plant that just burns all of a sudden is now good food. Stinging nettles, they taste a little tiny bit like turnip greens, maybe, but they're much less flavorful than that. Like, there's hardly any flavor in them whatsoever. How about this quinoa? That tastes a tiny little bit like bland oatmeal, maybe. But that doesn't taste like very much either. Now the venison, yeah, that's going to be outstanding. That tastes like low-fat venison. That's what it tastes like. But that's the greatest thing. But if you were really hungry, this would probably be outstanding. And if you had to work really hard to get this, then it would be just doubly outstanding. I don't know if they used any type of spices or anything. I'm sure there's things they could have added, but we don't know if they did that. But yeah, this is it. So I'm real happy with this. I'm super happy with the find, and I'm happy with everything. So thank you for watching. I'll see you.
Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven.